Hello and welcome to BT Media's In Conversation With series. Today I'm delighted to welcome Kai Hattendorf, CEO of UFI, the Global Association of the Exhibition Industry. Hello and welcome, Kai.
Hello and great to be here, Dan.
Thank you. I know we're beaming to Germany. It's the first in my series of going to Germany. I've done various places around the world, and it holds fond memories.
Welcome to Europe.
Yeah, we haven't left yet, right?
No, we love you and we look forward to having you back. Let's get that out of the way.
Maybe in our lifetime, maybe. So, Kai, let's get straight into it. It will be good for my viewers that aren't aware who you are and who UFI is and what you do, really. That'd be great if you can start off with an introduction.
And we only have 30 minutes, so I better be brief. My name is Kai Hattendorf. I'm the Managing Director, or as the Americans say, CEO of UFI now for 5 years. And UFI is the global trade association servicing the exhibitions industry, bringing together the trade show organizers, the venue operators, and selected service providers. And we also act as the global umbrella for the national associations and international associations servicing the exhibition sector, like the AEO, AEV, Assor in the UK. I was asked to take over this role from my predecessor, Paul Woodward, 5+ years ago now. Spent some years at Messe Frankfurt before in several transitional management roles. I'm a journalist by education. Okay. I've been a wedding photographer. I've been a Greenpeace activist. I've had a number of lives. All finally qualifying me for this amazing events and exhibitions industry that we also dearly love.
What drives your passion for events? So obviously you've worked at Messe Frankfurt. You're clearly doing the role you're doing now. You were in weddings, which is again a part of the event industry. What drives your passion? Why are you so passionate about events?
Well, I didn't do the weddings. I just took the photos, right? Yeah. When I was 18. Was a great way to make money and to see many people looking rather happy.
Yeah.
So it's the passion of bringing people together, really. Whether it's the marketplace on the exhibition side, so connecting supply and demand, whether it is the opportunity to meet people, to have good conversations on the conference side. I think I first fell in love with exhibitions when I was attending them as a journalist. What better place to go and ask all kinds of people, all kinds of questions, to have access to all that knowledge, the products, the insights, the whole industry. And you can't find a better place to connect to an industry than a good trade show floor, really.
Absolutely. And the power of face-to-face, which we'll talk about. In terms of UFI and who it represents, if I'm right in saying it's 80 locations around the world, countries, is that correct? Or are you up to more now?
Yeah, I mean, our members are obviously the organizers. We have around 800 member companies representing 85, 86, number keeps shifting slightly, countries in the world, and more than 50,000 industry professionals.
So obviously as an individual that is the CEO, MD, clearly you can't get around everybody, or maybe you have visited everything. But obviously you have a good supports team as well. And I know that you've recently had some elections, correct? So you've got like some new individuals going forward. Can you sort of bring that to life in terms of the rest of the board?
Well, like every association, we are fortunate to have volunteer leadership. Yep. So the way UFI works, every 3 years there are board elections. And our board is big. It's 60 people from all around the world representing all kinds of regions. Then we have chapters, and from the chapters and the board constitutes selected people from there, constitute the executive committee, which is the operational leadership body. Sure. If you're the head of a chapter in Europe, you have a seat there. If you're the head of the associations committee, you have a seat there. And that's how Chris Keith has a seat on the UFI executive committee, for instance. Sure. Then from the board, there's a group of professionals elected into the executive committee. So the new one was just confirmed last week. So it's a really group of power people from the industry. So from the UK, I think we have Hugh Jones, CEO of Reed. We have Lisa Hannon from Clarion. Informa is represented through Michael Duck from Hong Kong, who's also serving as our treasurer. Our president last year was Mary Larkin, diversified, Irish American. Our current president is from India, Ambu Varadhan, and he runs the venue in Bangalore and the biggest show taking place there. And the incoming president next year after Ambu will be Monica Lee Miller from Hong Kong. So you see a really, really global set of leaders I have the pleasure to work with and for.
Fantastic. And you say that they're all volunteer positions as well, which is fantastic that they're willing to give up their time for such a great cause. You mentioned the AEO.
Indeed, and indeed, and that is so to be applauded, because we've seen the difference it makes, especially this year, when you can rely on leaders of the industry giving time, being available for calls to give guidance and advice to steer the course of an association as we try to support the sector through this most difficult of times. So just as always, and again, we are the team that works our hearts out for the industry in the UFI office and around the world, but we so rely on the feedback from the members and especially from the volunteer leaders. So a huge thank you to everyone who's involved in that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you mentioned the AEO and also CISO, I guess, that you have a good relationship with. So I had Doug Emsley on this program last week, and I've also interviewed David Audrain. And it'd be interesting for, I guess, our viewers to understand the dynamic and the relationship between, do you meet on a regular basis? Is it ad hoc? How does it work?
We share a screen all the time, as we all do these days.
Yeah, true. Yeah. When I said meet,
I stopped counting the number of chats I have with David Audrain in the US on CISO, or the messages I exchange with Chris in the UK. Two excellent colleagues I'm very fortunate to work with, and there are a lot of initiatives we work on jointly. If you look at this show's open campaign that we've launched together with CISO, if you look at all the all secure standards that came out of the UK, with Clarion, Informa, and Reed getting together initially, and how great that this is now the blueprint for events in the UK to run.
Yeah, fantastic. So as you say, it's a collaborative effort. I want to talk more about the future than the past, but it would be remiss of me not to obviously speak briefly about the last period, which hopefully one day we can put in the distant and forget about. Specifically regarding the UK, but I'm interested in terms of the rest of the world as well. Obviously here we've had a challenge convincing government who we are and decoupling the fact that exhibitions and events are not necessarily part of the hospitality and leisure industry or the sport industry. Chris and other individuals have been lobbying to different parts of government. In terms of the rest of the world, it'd be good to sort of, obviously you can pick one or two examples because I don't expect you to go everywhere, but how does it work elsewhere, and how have you understood the relationship between exhibition organisers and the industry elsewhere compared to maybe how the UK has done?
It's different in every market because it takes an understanding from governments and authorities as to the role of exhibitions, or let's say business events, because let's bring our brothers and sisters from the conference side in here. We said very early on, a trade show is not a beer festival. It's a controlled gathering. I think you could say organized gathering in the UK. It's not a mass gathering. So very early on, what hurt us really as the whole sector was when the WHO declared all types of mass gatherings per se a problem. Yeah, because it was said to be spreading the virus, and terms like super spreader event haven't made it better. Yeah. So we needed to do the advocacy and the lobbying, and we needed to find people to talk to and them to listen, to explain that there's a difference between a concert or a festival that's based on people being together closely and tightly for the shared experience, for spending time together and having a great time, and a business event where you can very much control the environment and show that you can control the environment. Yeah. So in spring we spent a lot of time to write these standards and to write these recommendations on how to do that, and to take them to governments and say, not only do we say we're different, we can show you that we're different. Yeah. And here's what we can do to make this work. And that got some governments convinced. The Australians, the Singaporeans, the Germans, they made these distinctions. So, and of course, the moment you have a government like the German saying trade shows are exempt from mass gatherings, you have a point you can make to other governments.
Yeah.
So we on the UFI side work very much as a relay, supporting all our national associations, the national exhibition industry associations, making the point, sharing the narrative, sharing the arguments that worked here and there, and then taking a decision from one country and pass them on to add to the conversation in other markets.
Yeah,
there are some governments who are more business friendly in general, and there are some governments that are more concerned about the health, and rightly so. And just last week in Singapore, the conversation there is between the Ministry of Health, he wants to make sure there are absolutely no infections, and the Ministry of Commerce and Trade that wants to make sure that Singapore can come out of COVID as a stronger business events destination as it went into.
Yeah.
And like every government, then the government they have to find the right balance. Our job as industry association, our job as an industry is to go and show how we can deliver them safely. And I'm sure both Doug and David gave you great examples on that.
Yes, they did. And thank you. It was just obviously very frustrating in the UK over the last period, watching the likes of Germany, as you said, sort of separating out business events from the rest. I think as well, what people have told me, it's also down to the way obviously each country is run. So in the United States at the moment, which is still in a state of flux, shall we say, with infections peaking left, right and centre, obviously the different laws and regulations are run at state level. So you have not too many commonalities, and clearly venue ownership as well around the world makes a difference, right? Because if it's owned by the government, then obviously they have that incentive to maybe open quicker. So in terms of looking forward, obviously you had the UFI Global Conference last week, which I think you had a great attendance to. I guess that's one of the benefits of online, that more people can potentially attend. I want to move to the future and sort of try and have a positive slant. What were your key takeaways from that conference, from all the sessions that went on?
Well, it's first of all, you're right to say digital gives you one huge asset, that you can be accessible. So normally we have maybe 500 executives coming together from around the world. And it's long haul travel, and due to the cost of travel and time away from the office, obviously, then we have 2 or 3 top leaders from a member organization joining. What the digital format allowed us was to make everything much more accessible. So for the money you spend normally for one person traveling, accommodation and participation, you could sign up 25 folks to come to the platform, to share their context, to make connections, and to benefit from the content. So accessibility is a plus for digital. The feedback we got from the participants, and of course it was the biggest congress we ever did by the numbers, but hey, size, we all know that size is not the most relevant yardstick. What people's feedback was across the board is very, very similar. Thank you for great content. Thanks for doing the event. Let's please get back to face, because how shall we network if we can't see each other?
Yeah.
Now, we are probably an industry that is most biased towards coming back to face over other industries. And some, like the tech sector, we expect them to stay in the digital space far longer than, let's say, our sector.
Yeah.
When face-to-face is the viable option again a few months from now, when we all get the vaccines into our arms, hopefully. Feedback going forward, the tide is turning, and the tide is turning now. This week we released our annual document, 5 Trends to Watch for 2021. Yep. And the feedback we get from that is, that's very optimistic. And I think we have all reason to be optimistic going forward.
Can you bring one of those trends to life, maybe?
Sure. Let's go for the tide is turning part. Now, make no mistake, the next month will be tough.
Yeah.
Winter in the Northern Hemisphere, second waves in Europe. You already mentioned the US. Travel limitations, difficult to do any useful business. So we have to stay in survival mode as we currently are. It's great if we can hold events, great if we can bring communities and industries together, but the real bounce back, the real kickback for exhibitions won't be, and I think that's consensus by now, before the second half of 2021 for real in Europe. But then people will be very ready, and there will be all that pent-up demand. And quite frankly, if we have an okay second half of 2021, we will have seen a lot of growth compared to this horrible year 2020. And then the math is very simple. If we have some events in the second half of 21, we can have bigger events again in the first half of 22. So the numbers will rise. So I actually say 2021 will be better than 20, 22 will be better than 21, 23 will be better than 22, etc., etc. We have probably 10 years of uninterrupted growth ahead of us, simply from returning to face-to-face. And that's before we add the huge potential we have as a sector by adding what works on digital to the physical model.